All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar. And as always, we talk about leadership in retail, especially like the boutique retail spaces, wireless retail, AV, appliances, all the fun stuff, right? And as always, right now, the big conversation, the big topic is on tariffs and what's going on. Is there going to be any relief? Is there going to be a pause? What what is going on, right? Um, and as of this morning, there was some report saying, right, that there might be a 90-day pause. It's not happening. There is no pause. Uh, they are in effect as of April 5th, Saturday, right? It is Monday the 7th today. Uh, so markets have been kind of crazy, right? As y'all know, I do a little bit of day trading as well. Uh, and this morning, the markets were down anywhere from 4 to almost 5%, depending on which market you're following. And when the news broke or the potential news of the pause, right, the markets aren't going green, where they were, I think, in the 1 to 2% positive. Keep in mind, for the market to do a 7% delta, right, a 7% change is big. Typically, you're talking about like maybe 1 to 2%, 3% is a really great day for the market overall. But to have that big of a swing, that's drastic. So to kind of tell you where we're at. Now, you may be saying, "Hey, Omar, I'm fine. I'm not feeling anything. Customers still coming in. I'm actually seeing a big boost in sales. My teams are solid." That's right now. Keep in mind that we have product that's already arrived here in the States that will not be affected right now, as of this moment, by price increases. That will change once the new product starts coming into the States. And those carry those differences, right? Now, some companies may have or may be trying to already inflate the prices just to try to get ahead of the curve to give themselves a little bit of cushion, right? But it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough to make a big impact. It's going to happen, it's going to come, and we're going to start seeing a drastic change. And when you start seeing it, like I've said before, if you have not already started communicating with your team about what to expect, like, yes, we will see an increase likely in traffic coming into our locations because people are trying to lock in these prices before a potential upswing in the cost, right? Because if the product goes up, that doesn't mean that your pay is going to go up necessarily. Your companies may have to offset the cost by lowering commissions. So expect pay plan changes. I guarantee you a lot of the wireless, if you're in the wireless retail space, a lot of the wireless carriers are already planning on making those changes because obviously none of those devices are made here in the States, right? And they have to essentially eat the cost if there's a higher churn. And statistically speaking, they know this when devices are priced higher from a certain standpoint, the churn rate tends to go higher. Okay. Because obviously that gets either added onto the bill or they have to find some way to eat it on the back end. So they got to find where it's going to be feasible. So that's where we're going to be at. It's going to be interesting to see how things change. Companies don't like to make changes real fast over things they're unsure of. And right now, it's a lot of uncertainty. So a lot of companies, you know, you've already heard the news if you haven't of many companies saying that they're just going to pause any imports into the US for the foreseeable future, just because it doesn't make sense for them. They don't know what's going on. And if they're going to be sitting on inventory, right, like in the auto space, a lot of dealers are sitting on inventory that's almost a year old, which is hard for them to fathom because it's been a very long time since vehicles have been sitting on lots for that long. So you have to have those conversations with your team already if you haven't about what to be expecting on the stuff that's going to be coming down the road, right? You're always wanting to forecast in the future and have an idea. Forecasting doesn't mean I have a crystal ball and I'm going to be able to tell exactly what's going to happen. It says based on current trends and trajectory and potential news coming out, this is the most likely scenario based off what we experienced. So let's pivot towards the most likely scenario, but stay nimble enough to be able to change and move depending on the circumstances, right? Because obviously everything is ever evolving. We don't have a, one size fits all scenario right now. We just gotta go with it based off of what's coming down and what's being released to us. So for you as leaders, that conversation, that communication is going to be super important because you got to keep your teams aligned. You have to make sure everybody's on the same page. I get it. Right now, there's a lot of, of the sky's falling type of headlines, news. I know that may seem like the conversation we're having or you're hearing from me, but that's not the case. I'm saying, guess what? This is likely what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of hurt coming down the road. We want to minimize that, not just for the teams, for ourselves, but for everybody involved. Okay. Because it's going to be a while before people are going to be comfortable again, just, dropping thousands of dollars like nothing when they don't know what is going to be happening, what's occurring. Uh, Am I going to have a job tomorrow? Okay. Uh, because when there's a downturn in economies, there's always a decrease in workforce because obviously people aren't spending as much. So companies find it hard to justify because once again, they try to reduce the most expensive uh, cost line on their sheets, which is what they call labor, without realizing that labor is what brings in the funds, brings in the money, right? So that's a different topic altogether. So we won't touch on that. Uh, like as of right now, I'm literally looking at the markets, and the markets are down anywhere from about 1.5% to 2%, um, up from being down about 4 to 5%, um, but still down from being up like 1 to 2% about an hour ago. So it's it's it is a very interesting time right now, right? That's what we could say. Um, but we just got to keep at it. For our teams, we have to make sure that they understand that, hey, uh, you know, right now, do everything that you can, maximize on everything that's coming in through the door, because it's going to be a while before we see things like this where traffic is really good. And people are just coming in asking, they're saying, you know what, let me just jump on the gun right now and just get it. Think of like 2020 right now, uh, when toilet paper was hard to come by. Okay. It's like, just let me buy it as soon as I see it. Let me buy it as soon as I see it. It's something similar, but it's not going to be because of, well, hopefully, uh, it's not going to be because we don't have the product, but it's going to be that, you know what, people are going to be holding off because the cost has gone up dramatically. So they have to figure out what's going to be more important for them at this time to be able to purchase, for them to have and take home, right? Can I keep my phone that's busted? Do I have another phone that's older at the house that I can just use in the meantime, right? And that's kind of what's going to be going on. So it's one of those where you got to really take a look and spend time with your teams, getting them to understand kind of where we're at, what's occurring, what's going to be essentially happening coming down the pipeline. Can't expect them to just be like, okay, willy-nilly, and think that it was like it was 2, 3 months ago. That's not where we're at. Um, and the more that you spend training and developing your team, the better off not only will they be, but you will as leaders. Okay. Because your performance is based off the team's performance. So if the stores aren't going to be performing, then that means you're not performing. And hey, hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully, in a day or two, in less than a week, something comes up. You know, the House and Congress get their heads out their ass and, finally put a stop and say, hey, you know what? We control the purse. So we're going to stop you, the executive branch, from controlling anything having to do with the purse. We're going to stop it. We're not in a wartime. Done. Okay. So tariffs not happening, business back to normal. We're good to go. That would be great. And if you ended up doing a lot of training developing your team, getting their baseline at a higher level, you're going to be better off because their performance is going to be much better when things are normalized. So I think that's where a lot of leaders kind of get lost in the rut because when things go south, a lot of y'all, I know this for a fact 'cause I've seen it, act like chickens with your heads cut off. You can't think straight because you're too worried about getting fired. And you don't realize that, hey, if I don't do what I'm supposed to be doing, which is leading my team to success, I'm not leading anything. I'm just throwing spaghetti against the wall and hoping it sticks. I just got in here by, the grace of God or by luck or chance. Somebody decided to take a chance on me, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. That's not what you want to be doing. If that is you, I got good news. You can change that. Training and developing goes a very long way in making sure that you do see success and that your teams do see success. I've said this before. I do not believe that leaders are born, leaders are made, leaders are developed. Okay. That is the important thing. Leadership is a developed trait that anybody can learn and can adjust to. And that's the most beautiful thing. That's why if you have an organization that has many hundreds of people that have been with your company for years, but you're still hiring external candidates to take on positions. There's nothing wrong with external candidates, but if you're going external first before you go internal, that means that you're not developing your people. You're not training them for whatever reason. I would rather take somebody who has been with me in the organization for years, has the want to move into a leadership, but doesn't have the skills. I can train and develop the skills. If I'm expecting them to come in from day one with the skills, then one or two things. I suck as a leader, which I don't want to, right? I want to be performing. I want to be doing well. I want my teams to perform and have a future. Or two, the people that you bring externally aren't going to stick around because they see that there is no structure, there is no development. And majority of people aren't the kind of people that want to come in and actually create something for an organization. I don't think y'all realize that. That is a very rare trait for a lot of individuals, for a lot of companies to be able to find somebody that they can bring in that is going to want to grow, not only want to grow, but want to make an impact in an organization because a lot of people just want to come in, get what they need done, and go home and relax and go about their lives. There's nothing wrong with that. And the fact that the majority of people are like that, hey, that is perfectly fine. In a perfect world, we would only work as much as we needed to for the day and then we'd be done. If you wonder why you go on vacation to these other countries and, you're going to a village, people are kind of working, but then a lot of people are off throughout the day just enjoying the beach, lounging, enjoying each other's times. It's because they have what they need and they only work as much as they need to. It's not that, okay, we have this massive corporation that needs us to work from this time to this time. I'm not saying they don't exist there, but I'm saying in those small towns, those villages where you see that, it's because they have everything that they need taken care of and they can just go about their day once they get what they need done for the day taken care of. That's it. That's the difference. Okay. Here in the States, we have a different kind of culture. And I don't believe in this whole hustle mindset that you have to work. And I've been there. I've been there myself, where you have to hustle from, dawn to dusk, day in, day out. Uh, if you are working that hard and not moving the needle, you are not working. You're just doing a bunch of busy work. Once I understood that and realized, oh shit, a lot of the stuff I do doesn't produce results. It's just me being busy saying I'm doing something, I'm working. Then the fuck am I doing? I'm just wasting my time. I'm spinning my wheels. That's not what I need to do. And it's the same thing for your people. You can't expect them to just say, I'm busy, I'm doing something, and that's not being productive. I'd rather have somebody who's productive and gets what they need done and can relax for the rest of the day than somebody who's spinning their wheels, not essentially doing anything, and they seem busy, but production's not there. I want them to relax. Like I've told you, One of my biggest things as a leader that I've told my employees in the past, I want you to make more money and work less at the same time. Okay. I want to help you to earn and make more money while you work less. That is impactful. That means that we're going to look at things at from a different lens. And I don't want you doing busy work. I want you doing stuff that's impactful, that's going to move the needle. And in a sales environment, right? We're talking about commission sales. It's something that's going to make you money without having to do as much work as you've done before. And then your customers are also going to be much happier because you're not spinning wheels. You're not wasting people's time. You're not wasting their time. You're not wasting your time. It's a win-win. Boom. That's the kind of stuff that we want to be. That's, in position to be. And that's what you have to train your people in and want to do. So you gotta learn to jump in and be able to do something like that. And that means learning to train and develop others. Okay. Because when you do that, they can start focusing on the stuff that's being impactful and actually driving results as opposed to just stuff that's spinning the wheel, right? Wasting time. And that's the beautiful thing. And especially when it comes to what we're going to likely be seeing in the near future, the last thing that you need and the last thing that you're going to be able to afford is people, quote unquote, hustling that are just wasting time. Just because they're busy, you know, doesn't mean they're actually being productive. What are the actions? What are the steps that they can take that are going to be the most productive? And that's where I want them focusing on because that's going to yield better results than doing a bunch of busy work creating flyers, for instance. That is busy work. Are there flyers already created? Great. Use those. Don't create new ones. Don't reinvent the wheel. Let's do what's proven going forward, and we're done. If you don't have a system for training and developing, you need a system for training and developing. Training and developing is not a one-time training. It is not a new hire training course, and then once the new hire training course is over, they're trained. No, they've been introduced to the company, they've been introduced to the culture. Now it's us to continue the training and developing now that they have a baseline foundation of knowledge. Now we need to continue that training and developing to ensure that they're going to actually be um, executing at a higher level and being able to perform here instead of struggling. If you as a leader say the training that new hires get is not effective, it doesn't work. You just told me you don't do any training and developing. That is what you just told me. That you expect your people to not be trained, that you don't see yourself as a coach. You see yourself as a boss that's just going to tell people what to do and expect them to get it done without giving any guidance, mentorship, coaching, and developing. What are you doing in that role? You're wasting their time, the company's time, your time, because you're not doing what needs to be done. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing to help the team grow? What are you doing to help your individuals develop personally and professionally? What are you doing to develop yourself? That's the thing. If you're in a leadership role and you're not taking it upon yourself to develop yourself further from where you're at, you're in the wrong role. Okay. And I get it. There are many titles out there that are deemed a leadership role that are not. They're just an individual contributor with a very fancy title, just because that's how we do things in America. It doesn't mean shit. It's funny because I was watching a video. I forgot who the creator was, uh, but he was mentioning that he thought he was talking to somebody who was like very high up the food chain because they were a VP of a different department, and this is like a finance company. It turns out, yeah, they had a VP title, but they're just an individual contributor. They didn't actually have a department that they were in charge of or anything. It was just a title that they were given. Like that doesn't mean anything. I've met people like that. I've seen it, and I get it. I understand it. It sucks, but you have to understand what it means to actually be a true leader as opposed to just having a fancy title. And for instance, being a district sales manager, you're a leader of a region. If you're a regional director, you're a leader of a region. You have people that you're responsible for that you need to ensure are trained and developed continuously. You're responsible for the performance of the area. You're responsible for, the administrative tasks for the area. You have to make sure your people are trained and developed appropriately to have a baseline. That is the only way that you can inspect what you expect. If you're just setting expectations, but you're never inspecting the process to make sure that people get to your expectations, you're just wasting time. You're doing a bunch of busy work, spinning wheels without being productive. Okay. As a leader, you got to step up for your people. You have to make sure you're training and developing. And right now, during tough times, right? Right now, at this moment, we are not in tough times. I need you to understand that as of this moment, we are not in tough times. We are heading into tough times. As of the way things are without any drastic change, we are heading into tough times. Right now is the best time for anybody to start getting ready for that before it happens. Because if you can be ahead of the curve before it happens, you're in a much better spot. I've said it before, I've been saying it now for the last, I think, week or two. You are not in a position right now to want to lose people. Doesn't matter if you think the performance is bad or not. That actually relies on you 80% of the time. It's a reflection of your, training and developing process. I'm not going to say it's always 100% on you as a leader. I've been in positions, I've seen it where you can do everything you can to try to bring somebody to par. They just absolutely do not want to. There's only so much we can do to try to help people. Okay. But right now is not a time that you want to lose people because companies will not be backfilling those positions right away. And right now is a very big wait and see time for a lot of companies. I'm not saying everybody right now is not going to hire. Obviously, people need to fill positions if they're trying to break into a new territory, for instance, um, right? But a lot of companies are going to try to hold off on hiring, especially in in the boutique retail space, okay, in the specialty retail space, because it's a lot of unless you're bringing a book of business, okay, especially like in the AV appliance world, uh, I need to justify why I'm bringing you on board. I'm barely able to keep up headcount right now with the performance we have if you're not training and developing. But I just can't. I have the space open. I don't have the ability to bring somebody on because performance isn't there. So budgeting for headcount is not there. And that's the big thing. Okay. That's how staffing is affected by performance. Even going into seasonality, right? I know that a lot of people right now, a lot of companies they're holding off, even though right now would be a time where they'd be ramping up, getting things ready for the summertime for longer hours. Uh, and then in a couple more months, ramping up for Q4. But this year's Q4 is going to be interesting. Um, it's going to be one of those, right? Once again, as it is, if you guys were around during the 2007, 2008, market crash, that's kind of what I'm expecting. Because it's very, very reminiscent of what happened. Um, it's kind of in our face instead of getting the rug pulled, right? But even then, back in 07, 08, it was in your face with everything that was going on. It was just a different entity. Right now, it's not the real estate market that's, the big issue. Uh, it's going to be everything else that's tied into anything that we do. Because once again, if you guys don't understand, there is practically nothing that's 100% made here in the US because we've been doing global trade for almost a century, for over 80 years. And in that time, we've specialized in certain things. Other countries have specialized in certain things because of the way that trade has been working. So for it to upend and just stop, right? Because you got to think about it. A one-term president is a blink of an eye. Um, Times change fast, right? Who's to say what's going to happen next? Who's to say if, once again, a month or two or less, hopefully, um, the House and Congress get their heads out their ass and, actually take back their power, which is power of the purse. Um, and see what's going on. Okay. But otherwise, like there's a creator that, I happen to be listening to, and they're a American company, American brand. And even she was saying that her brand, even though she produces the product here, uh, she's in jewelry, right? Boutique retail space. She's in jewelry. And even though she makes everything here, she's all the gemstones. There's practically no gemstones here in the US that are mined naturally. Um, they come from overseas. They get traded in, right? We have to import them. Diamonds, 90% of, diamonds are cut in India. Uh, that, right, kind of starts giving you an idea. So the machinery that everybody uses is produced in China. They just have the best manufacturing. They've been doing it, and that's where everybody gets their equipment. So the cost of that, if it's broken, has to get replaced, comes from a different country. So even though she produces her product here, the components she needs to be able to produce her products is coming from a different country. So even though she's American, she's an American brand, an American company with American products that are produced here in the US, the materials, the raw materials that she needs come from a different country. And it's the same thing with a lot of other industries. And you also have to imagine that one, we don't consume, and there's no way that we can consume everything that we produce here in the States naturally. A lot of that gets exported out. So in retaliation to a bunch of these nonsense tariffs, a lot of companies are or countries are saying like we are going to stop trade as well on certain things, or we're just going to increase tariffs on it dramatically. So what do you think their constituents, their citizens are going to do when they have an American brand that has now doubled in price compared to a local brand that is still priced at what it was before, right? It's a no nonsense, no brainer. So it's like I said, it's gonna be a world of hurt. It's gonna be different than what we've seen before. Um, I think they've said that like the closest thing was literally what happened in the 1930s, um, when something similar was enacted. Uh, was very short-lived, but hey, it gave the Democrats the House for 60 years, or pretty much offices for 60 years. So is that the route we're gonna go? We'll see. We don't know yet. What we do know is once things, because here's the thing too, even if, right, everything's enacted now, and in a month things change, everything in that month period has those tariffs, because it's not like they're gonna say, okay, effective immediately, we're just gonna backtrack it, backdate it to this date. It's like as of today going forward. So anything that falls within that time frame that still had tariffs will still have tariffs. But that was stuff that's already here in the States. So that stuff won't move until a new product comes in with the lower price point. Uh, so it's uncertain times for sure. Uh, and like I said, a lot of companies don't like to make decisions on a small, quick, short-term period, uh, because that's not how business is done, right? That's not the way we've done business. Um, it's like handshake contracts, right? You shook on it, and all of a sudden, you know, oh, what do you mean it's gone up 50%? We had a deal. Oh yeah, you should have had it on paper. This is what it is. Coach your people, train your people, develop your people. If you need assistance, if you need help on figuring out what's the best way to move forward with coaching, training, and developing, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for your team, reach out to me, send me a DM, leave a comment if you want any of the videos. Um, Download the frameworks that I have. I am thinking of, offering a leadership course coming up. For y'all that don't know, this not this week, but the next week, I'm actually going to be out of town for about a few days. It's my dad's anniversary of his passing. Um, so we're going. back to the family ranch and paying our respects. So it won't. It may not be until either later this month or next month, right? If there's enough interest on people wanting to learn how to be better at coaching and training their teams. It's not, I don't believe in subscription basis. I think that's one of the stupidest things in the world. I understand why companies do it. I just think it's stupid, uh, especially if you're trying to help others to gain new skills and develop and train them. Um, so it's going to be, more likely like a low entry, one time price point uh, for people, and it'll be yours to keep for, lifetime of the site. So, if you're wondering how long the site's been up, I've had the sales manager academy name for a while now. I think going on to about she's I think about 8 years, eight, yeah, around that ballpark. Um, so I've been doing it, training and developing for a lot longer than that. But that's kind of the space, right? But like I said, right now it's interesting times. Communication is very key. If you don't understand your communication style or your team's communication style, if you need some guidance there, check the link in my bio, check the description, depending on where you're watching this. Take the quick dope exam, right? The quiz. Find your communication style. See if you're an eagle, dove, owl, peacock. Have your team take it. See what their communication style is. That way, you have a better understanding of what's the best way for me to communicate when I'm doing my trainings or my coachings, um, and go from there, right? Because I've said this before. You are different personalities depending on the circumstance. Uh, So in one situation, you may be an eagle. In another situation, you might be an owl, right? It just depends on the situation that you're in. So it's a good idea to have that conversation, to have that knowledge of what your style is in your current role as a leader, as opposed to like, for instance, a role when you're thinking about communication with your executive leadership. Okay. Uh, I'll leave it at that, guys. The markets are still kind of, you know, loopy. Uh, I know that they had a bunch of pretty much today was all hands on deck for all the markets, which is very rare because they typically do everything on algorithm. And if they let everything on algorithm, it would have literally dropped like crazy because of how low it was yesterday. Um, so one, I know that markets were up anyway because of the, somewhat news that had dropped. Um, Two, I guarantee you market makers are making moves to not be as down as they could potentially be because nobody wants another Black Monday. If you guys don't know what Black Monday is, Google is free to use. I will leave you with that. Okay. Do a little bit of actual research and learn what it is. Um, if you guys seen The Wolf of Wall Street, you have an idea of what that was like or what that could potentially be. But look it up. It'll give you pretty good insights and kind of a little bit of background and an idea why they don't want that. But I'll leave it there. As always, guys, thanks for stopping in to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy. I'm your host, Omar. Be sure to hit the like and follow button, and I'll catch you on the next one.